Joining us now, David House, a friend of Bradley Manning's who visited him just yesterday. And David, how was he?
Well, Bradley's conditions have not improved. And when I visited him in the brig yesterday, he was very slow to respond to questions, had this kind of catatonic attitude for quite some time. This kind of behavior is consistent with what psychologists will say are the effects of long-term solitary confinement. Bradley Manning has been held in these conditions, this 23-hour-a-day solitary confinement, for some 6 months. I will say, however, that Bradley did brighten up at some point when I mentioned what's been happening in Tunisia and Egypt. That was like a light switch turning on almost, and we engaged in a very good conversation for a few minutes about the events in Tunisia and Egypt. Why? Well, Bradley Manning has some very interesting opinions about what's going on in Tunisia and Egypt. He related that he views the democratic uprising in Tunisia as being directly related to the power the internet has to motivate people to take civic responsibility in their governments and to empower people to pursue democracy in the face of tyranny. So he had a very strong conversation with me about this.
When he was placed under 2 days of suicide watch, which meant he was confined to his cell, stripped of most of his clothing, his eyeglasses, everything, did he describe to you anything about that incident, and how did he respond to the news of the change in command?
He did not respond to those, and I can give us a little bit of background on that. 2 weekends ago, I had just returned from the EU, and I was going to visit Bradley Manning in confinement at Quantico. On the way into the base, I was detained along with the blogger I was driving with, and we were actually held and detained until Bradley's visiting hours were over. I was really unsure why we were prevented from seeing Bradley, but then that next week, news that he had been placed on a punitive suicide watch had come out, and then later that week, news the brig commander had been replaced. So this week, going in to see Bradley, obviously I had a lot of questions. I was able to make it onto the base this past weekend, and in talking to Bradley, I asked him, can you tell me a little bit about the suicide watch, what the deal with that was? And just to describe the situation, when I'm talking to him in confinement, he's surrounded from behind by 3 very large Marines, under electronic surveillance, and when I pushed him on this, he looked very anxious, and he said he really didn't want to talk about it. I think that he was a little intimidated by the presence of the Marines in the room. I'm not quite sure, but Bradley simply would not talk about the conditions of his confinement relating to that suicide watch.
And then very quickly, there's some logs that are attributed to Bradley from a chat room, although not confirmed, in which he reportedly says, hopefully worldwide discussion, debates, and reforms. If not, then we're doomed, referring to information. We're doomed as a species. I will officially give up on the society we have if nothing happens. The reaction to the video gave me immense hope. I want people to see the truth regardless of who they are, because without information you cannot make informed decisions as a public. Is that the sort of thing that sounds like him, and is that what he's talking about when you talk about what's going on in Egypt and Tunisia?
Well, when I talk to Bradley in confinement, we of course cannot discuss anything related to the case because of the presence of Marines and because of the surveillance going on. So we don't talk about WikiLeaks and we do not talk about the case, but I can say, in my opinion, that if Bradley Manning is the individual that leaked these documents, if the allegations are true, I think what's happening in Tunisia and Egypt is definitely consistent with the kind of reforms mentioned in those alleged chat logs.
David, you are a good friend, to say the least. Thank you for joining us and sharing some of your experience with him. And we wish you, of course, all the best in your efforts to maintain communication with Private Manning. David House, thank you.